welcome everybody to the third annual Once Upon a Read-a-Thon fundraiser for the Book Fairies. We are super excited this year because we are celebrating our 10th anniversary. And also while we're doing that, we're recognizing our founder, Amy Zaslansky. What started as an act of kindness to help a teacher get books for her students turned into a charity that has now distributed 3.3 million books. Can you imagine that, Jim? 3.3 million books in hands of kids that need it here on Long Island and New York City. And some even have gone overseas, and we built libraries over in Africa. I'm super blessed and privileged to be part of this organization, and I'm really happy to be able to represent them. This is a fundraiser, so we hope you will consider supporting us. It's a month-long read-a-thon event, and you can still create a page, create a team, or just donate. If you're unable to donate, you can always just enjoy these amazing readings. And today I am excited to announce that we have author illustrator Jim Benton with us. He's going to do a live reading from his book, Franny K. Stein, Mood Science. I love Franny K. She's so funny. And we have some really good questions already that came in from some of the teachers. Jim has many of the books and series, including Dear Dumb Diary, It's Happy Bunny, Catwad, and others. You currently live in Michigan, where you operate your own studio, and you're married and have 2 children. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Well, I'm so excited to have you here. I am going to let you do what you do best. And then after we're done, I'm going to come on, and I hope that people ask questions and we'll be able to answer them and talk live with you when you're done. But for now, I'm going to hop out and I will be back.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Jim Benton here. Today, we're going to read from my book. I'm going to read from my book, Franny K. Stein. She's a little girl mad scientist, and the name of this book is Mood Science. So there you have it. I dedicated this one to the librarians. When you write books, you get to dedicate to people. Some of you people might know Franny already, so I'm just going to jump right in. The Stein family lived in the pretty pink house with the lovely purple shutters down at the end of Daffodil Street. Everything about the house was bright and cheery. And even though it was bright and cheery, Franny thought that if you just mix the purple and pink paint together, you could paint the house much faster and then get on to more important things than the color of a house. Many of Franny's recent inventions were all about mixing things together. She'd gotten the idea the last time she saw her grandma, Granny Franny. Each of the individual things I put in my soup are good, she told Franny, but when they're all mixed together, they somehow make it better. I wonder what kind of science is at work here, Franny said, holding up her grandmother to stir the pot. I also wonder how you keep getting smaller every time I see you, Granny Fran. I bet that in a couple years, you'll be able to take a bath in a spoon, Franny joked. You might be right, Franny, Granny Franny said, chuckling, but just because something is small, that doesn't mean it can't have a huge effect. Have you ever been bitten by a mosquito? Franny laughed. I get the point, she said. And thanks for teaching me how to make soup. I can't wait to get back to my lab and make my own version of soup. Of course, Franny's lab wasn't a pure lab. He was also part poodle, part chihuahua, part beagle, part spaniel, part shepherd, and part some kind of Weasley thing that wasn't even His name was Igor, and he was always ready to help Franny with her experiments, except when he was busy with his own stuff. Chapter 2, Putting the Pieces Together. Maybe because Igor was a mix of so many different animals, he had lots of different interests. He liked cake decorating and karate and banana wrestling, which might sound easy, but Franny had accidentally created a pretty fierce banana, and when it was Igor's job to play with it so it didn't become bored and start getting into trouble. Igor's newest hobby was jigsaw puzzles, which took a long time for him to complete since his little fingers were kind of stubby and plump. Franny had no interest in solving a puzzle that others had solved before, so Igor put them together all by himself. This was fine with Franny because it allowed her to work on experiments without Igor's help, and sometimes no help was exactly what she was in the mood for. Franny was especially excited about her newest invention, the mixer-upper machine. She'd gotten the idea from Granny Franny's soup. I made it with parts from a broken blender and an old nuclear reactor I had lying around. With it, I can combine good stuff to make something even better. For one of her first mixer-upper experiments, she put a substitute teacher in it with a ruler. The machine made a whirring sound like a blender, and then it dinged like a microwave. When Franny opened the door, the substitute teacher and the ruler had combined to make a foot-long sub. It flopped around on the plate and threatened to make Franny stay after school unless she separated them again. Fine, Franny said, I'll unmix you, but you might be making a mistake. Not everybody likes substitute teachers, but everybody can appreciate a delicious foot-long sub. Change me back, the sub yelled. Okay, Franny said, making some adjustments on the machine. You know, the other teachers warned me about helping you with your experiments. I should have listened to them, the sub shouted. Perfectly understandable. Everybody, the teachers, Franny said. The next day, she mixed an ice cream cone with a poodle and got a chili dog. I need to adjust this thing. I mean, I get it, but that's not even how you spell chili. Franny stayed up for the next 2 nights figuring out how to mix a duck with a beaver. This will be my greatest achievement yet, she howled as she led them into her machine and explained it to them. All this device does is chop your molecules into chunks and join those chunks together in a way that you two could never understand, Franny said with a pleasant smile. So just sit back, relax, and get chunked. The machine made its familiar blender sound and then dinged. The door opened and Franny's newest creation stepped out. A platypus, Franny shouted. I can't believe I wasted all that time and all I got was a platypus. We already have those. We have a ton of those. This is nothing new. Franny lost her temper. She pounded on her machine and sent laboratory equipment flying. She threw a wrench which broke jars from earlier experiments. She kicked the table where Igor was just about to put the very last piece in the puzzle he had been working on for weeks. She could tell he was upset, but she didn't care. Don't even start complaining about it, she yelled. It's just a dumb puzzle. It's not like the big important science experiments I do. You already know how it was going to look when it was complete. The picture is right there on the box. Igor looked at all the pieces scattered on the floor. He had worked so long on that puzzle. He opened his hand and let the last piece fall to the ground. He walked away, and Franny saw a tear trailing down his face. Oh, it's just a silly puzzle, she shouted at him. A big waste of time. She stomped on the pieces. I probably saved you a lot of worthless effort, she shouted. That was pretty mean, the platypus said. You be quiet, beaver duck, Franny snapped. I can unmix you anytime I want. Chapter 3. I'll bet the pepperoni buttons are good. A couple of days passed, and Franny hadn't been able to think of anything except how mean she had been to Igor. She remembered how Igor had always supported her experiments, even when he didn't really think they were a good idea. She thought back about how earlier that week she had helped out when she tried to develop a virus that would make people feel good all the time instead of bad. I mean, think about it. Why do viruses always have to be bad? Smiles are contagious. Laughter is contagious. People should be able to catch all sorts of good things. Igor nodded in agreement, even though he had no idea what he was agreeing to. She remembered how, a few days before that, he had assisted her when she tried to develop a breed of attractive and wart-free toads so that people would want them as pets. Personally, I kind of like the warts, Franny said, but not everybody does. And toads would be great for people to have around. They eat bugs that bother us, like flies and mosquitoes. And you know those can get in anywhere. She thought back to when he had helped her attempt to make clothes out of pizza. So when they got dirty, you could just eat them instead of having to wash them. Actually, Igor thought this was a terrific idea. From time to time, he enjoyed eating non-pizza clothes, especially socks. He's always been a great assistant to me, Franny said, and I should have been nicer. I have to make this up to him. I'll do something silly to make him laugh, she said, and she got to work right away. It didn't take her long to finish the gift. He's going to love this, she shouted, and ran to find him. Look, Igor, I wanted to apologize, so I made this just for you. Igor stared at it. It's a jigsaw puzzle with only 2 pieces. That way you won't have to waste a lot of time putting the dumb thing together. Isn't that fun? Igor didn't think it was fun at all. And all it did was remind him of how long he had worked on the last puzzle before Franny had wrecked it. He walked away, leaving Franny holding the pieces. Fine, she said. I tried to apologize and you wouldn't accept it. Now it's your fault. She stormed off and sat down at her workbench. She fiddled around with little bits of wire and gears, hoping to get her mind off what she had done, but Franny still felt terrible. I'm afraid I've hurt his feelings so bad that he'll never forgive me, she said quietly. The platypus wanted to agree with her on this, but he knew he wouldn't go well if he did. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. You can find out who all of these other characters are. Don't they look like Franny's? That's because they're parts of Franny. So, whoops, let me just switch back here. Okay, there's beautiful me. So are there any questions or anything that I could?
There are, and that was great. I just love, she's just so funny and cranky and interesting. She's a good character.
Thank you.
One of the first questions we had was, because you're an illustrator and an author, which came first, illustration or writing for you?
It's different every time. So sometimes I'll do a little drawing of something and then I'll go, oh, I wonder if I could write a story about that. And then sometimes I'll just have an idea for a story and then I'll have to sort of figure out what it would look like. So it starts different ways, but it actually all kind of smashes together as you're working.
That's so funny. Okay, one of Franny K's Stein is a female main character and so funny. Were you interested in science as a kid?
I think I was interested in mad science, which is everybody's favorite kind of science. So when you hear a story about, oh, scientists have figured out a new way to make refrigerators 2 degrees colder, nobody's interested. But if you say, well, scientists have figured out a new way to grow ears on a carrot, everybody goes, oh, that's amazing. I'm very interested in that. Even though the colder refrigerator would probably do you more good, it's mad science that everybody likes. And that's what I like too.
That's true. That's true. Is Franny K inspired by anyone you know, or is she just like completely made up?
So when my daughter was little, she liked like princesses and pretty pony things a little bit. What my daughter really liked was spiders and spooky things and monsters and stuff. So I wrote Franny for her so that she would have this little girl who was sort of like liked a lot of the things that she liked.
Oh, that's great. And does she kind of resemble your daughter or?
No,
Like,
no,
I'm
no.
just saying.
No, the thing that I used for Franny, and in fact, I can show you this real quick. Some of the secrets about Franny is that, so you know how like 13 is sort of associated with like spooky things or scary things. So there's a 13 in Franny's face, and there's the 1, and there's the 3.
What?
And Franny is always very curious about things. So that question mark is in Franny's face. It's just upside down. And she has a deep confidence. So that's where that smile comes from. She's confident in who she is, confident in her abilities, because Franny, it seems, can do just about anything. And the last part of Franny that's kind of a secret is in her hair. So everybody, all the girls can always tell me why Franny wears her hair in pigtails. And I'll bet you can tell me, right?
Because it's easier?
Yeah, because she doesn't get caught in a machine or something like that. So that's why she always wears her hair up in pigtails. The other thing is that, have you ever seen these machines like in old horror movies, and where this electrical current goes up and down across these 2 bars or something? So the highlight in Franny's hair always sort of represents that electricity that's going on inside her head at all times. That's her sort of like crazy intelligence. It's the highlight, but it's also sort of symbolic of what's going on inside.
That
So
is incredible. That is so in depth. It's not just, you put a lot of thought into that. That is really interesting to see and, put into action and how you did that.
yeah, and Franny's clothes, she always wears that outfit. That's just a
Hmm.
chemical suit. That's to protect her from the chemicals in the lab. And her hair is purple because of exposure to weird chemicals.
Wow, that's
She
really
wasn't,
thought out and great.
yeah, she wasn't born with purple hair. It just kind of accidentally happened.
Oh, that's fun. I'm just looking for the other questions. So you have, what will Franny be up to next? Somebody wants to know.
I have a few ideas about that. One of them I think is that one of the things that she invents is going to get stolen. And so it's going to be in the wrong hands. And Franny's inventions are dangerous even in the right hands. So, but Franny makes a lot of mistakes, but she always fixes the mistakes. That's the other thing about Franny. She cleans up her messes. So
Yeah,
I think that the next story might be about a stolen invention.
that could take her to a lot of places and get into a lot of trouble, as usual.
Yeah.
I was thinking substitute teachers have such a hard time, that poor substitute teacher in the story. That's a really bad day.
Yeah.
Um, oh, somebody wanted to know if you've ever gotten writer's block.
I'll tell you the secret to that. And I used to be an editor on a writing magazine called Writer's Digest. And I just did illustrations in it, but I had to read every single article for 15 years. So I can render it down. I can give you a 15-year subscription and just a couple of things that always repeats. And one of the secret of writing is rewriting. So every book you've ever read is not the first draft. It's rewritten. It's tightened up.
Mhm.
So, but the other one is if you don't know what to write, if you can't think of the right thing, just write the wrong thing. So, like I'm going to write a story about Franny and it's not coming immediately. So I just start writing about something else. So as long as the ink is going down on the paper, the machine is still working, your gears are turning, and then you can just sort of come back. The worst thing you can do is stop. So it's better to write the wrong thing than to stop.
That's great advice. That's great. How old were you when you wrote and got your first book published?
Well, the first book I did was a long time ago. It was called Dealing with the Idiots in Your Life. And that was a collection of cartoons I did for Simon and Schuster. But I guess Franny is maybe Franny's 20 years old now. She's right around
Wow,
20, 21 years old, something like that.
that's amazing. Congratulations on all the successes you have. That's great.
Thanks.
We have more questions that I have coming in. Do you like writing graphic novels like Catwood more than a traditional book?
So I have written traditional books. That person's asking about Catwad, which
Catwad.
do all of
Nice.
these fun color illustrations. So it's really kind of like it's really kind of a different thing, with the there's things that you can do with words only that they don't film very well, they don't
Hmm.
cartoon very well. Words have their own abilities, and cartoons, illustrations have their own abilities. So it's just kind of like different things coming out of your kitchen.
That's great. Um, all right. Jane wants to know, who is your favorite character to write?
um, I'm always most interested in whatever I'm working on right this second. I tend to be really future focused. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I'm most excited about right now. I'm actually doing Dear Dumb Diary graphic novels now. And I just finished a thing for DC Comics that's about a little boy who's like hero worships Batman. So whatever I'm doing right now, that's what I like the best.
Okay. That's good because it has to be your focus, right? You have to love it and like it while you're doing it. So that makes sense, right?
Right.
Um, where do you get your story inspiration from? Becca wants to know.
If I knew where I got my ideas, I'd go back and get more. They just they just kind of come to me. And sometimes you struggle with them a little bit. Like if you said, I want to write a story about a goat. So then you start thinking about goaty things and what makes goats and stuff. But most of the other times it just kind of like pops in, it just sort of blinks in and you go, oh, what about a little girl caveman? like, or, like just ideas just come to you. So the truth is I don't know exactly where they come from.
That's funny. That's why you have such a creative mind, because it's just anywhere, anything can be really what's inspiring you, which is great.
Yeah.
A lot of people always say they want to write a book. What inspired you to go through with it and write your first book?
So I loved books when I was a kid, and I probably read equal amounts of like great books and garbage, and I liked them both. Like I liked like things like Mad Magazine, but I also liked like good books, like Mark Twain, and and I also liked Pippi Longstocking, which I've come to realize there's probably a little bit of Pippi in Franny. I didn't know was in there, but I think it was just because I liked him so much. You just kind of wind up doing the things that you like. And if you're a kid and you when you're little, if you really like watching baseball, maybe you'll grow up to play baseball. You just kind of follow what you love.
Mm, that's amazing. We have Regina Buckley wanted to know, what would you do for a living if you weren't writing?
I really like to cook, and I'm really good at it too. So
Wow.
so that would be I could cook for a living and be very, very happy. But I like everything I ever ate. So I would sort of have a problem if people said, "Oh, don't put onions in it. I don't like onions," because I would kind of want to insist that they tasted it. No, I know how to do this, and I think you should at least give it a little taste. So I might not
Eat it.
just try
Just
it.
try it.
If you don't like it, I'll make something else. So I might not make the diners happy all the time, but I'd probably be happy.
But that also makes sense, because cooking, I think, is like a creative talent, and you're an illustrator and an author. So
Yeah, and
is there a talent you wish you had that you don't have?
well, my son is a fantastic musician, and he plays guitar, and I wish that I could do something musical because I love music, but I can't play anything but the radio.
Well, I have to say, I don't have any creative talents, and I'm always jealous of people who do
Oh,
have.
then I have an argument for you because I believe everybody is an artist. It's just a
Okay.
matter of you giving yourself permission to do it, and like letting yourself do it. So you might be engaging in acts of artistry, creating works of art, and you're not even aware that you're doing it right now. Ways that maybe you just decorate your home, or the way that you dress, or how you prepare a table, or how you decorate your house. You are an artist. Kids draw before they can write. You were an artist long before you could speak and before you could write. Kids sing before they can talk. They dance before they can run. They draw before they can write. We're born artists.
Wow, that's great. And for all of the children that are listening to us here, listen, you stopped me and made me pause to think about it. Maybe I do have some creativity. So
Absolutely, you do. You just have to recognize it and give yourself permission.
yeah, so for the kids that are, we have several classes that are watching this right now, and this is great advice from Jim Benton. We all have talents that we probably aren't tapping into or aren't even realizing that are there. So that's a great takeaway for them all, and we really appreciate all the time that you're having with us. Is there any advice you would like to give the students, while I'm looking to make sure we don't have any last questions?
Well, since we're talking about books, advice that I got from a teacher when I was young was always read outside of your interests. So don't always pick the book. Sometimes pick books that you don't know if you're going to like it or not. So, because that's the way you expose yourself to brand new ideas. And the truth is that you can't see something if you don't have a word for it. So like when you look under the hood of a car, you might just see engine, right? When a mechanic looks under the hood of your car, he sees the fuel injector, he sees the spark plug, he sees the alternator, because he has words for it, because he knows
Mm.
something about it. So the more that you know, the more you can see. The world actually changes for you. Your vision changes simply by knowing the words for it and knowing a little something about it.
Right. And that's really, I mean, This is a month-long literacy event. It's about raising awareness for our mission and also funding our mission, but it's raising awareness that reading is essential and access to books are so important. Having those books in your hands are so important. And to your point, find something that you love to read, but when you're really good and getting good, I love this advice. Go outside of your comfort zone and see what you can learn. We really, it's important that we make sure that kids understand the value and the reading takes you out. It could take you to places that you've never been. It can teach you things that you never would have known. And we really believe at the Book Fairies that books are essential and they need to be in the hands of children. And we thank you for your time, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do if we didn't have really amazing, interesting books like Franny K. Stein. And we thank our sponsors. We have great sponsors that are really helping us to get this fundraiser going. And we have Marlon Securities, PC Richards, Investors Bank, Hofstra University, and Mazars. They've been tremendous for us. And we thank you. We hope you'll come back or consider coming back next year for our 4th annual.
Just tell me the time and place.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. You were fantastic. Thank you, everyone who chimed in today.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.